Welcome to the channel and the first video, which I hope is the first of many I record in the coming months. A little bit about myself. Born in the UK, played semi-pro for a number of years, was UEFA A license trained before moving to the US, where I got my USSF licenses. Also became a director of coaching at a youth soccer association. I work in data during the day, not in the football/soccer world, but it's certainly a personal projects I work on. I use Python code in data from FBref, Who Scored, great sites for data analysts who want to get into the field. So firstly, I thought I'd talk about the most pressing thing, being an Aston Villa fan for over 4 decades, nearly 5 now. The FFP issue of us breaking their rules of 105 million spent in any of the 3-year previous periods. I know we had tried this previous week to try and push that to 135, which wouldn't put us in the predicament we are in, where we have to sell a player before June 6. Like many, I feel Douglas Luiz is probably going to be the easiest sell. Already have potential suitors for him. So this video hopefully will show how we can move forward into the next phase of Aston Villa as we embark on a Champions League journey. So I'm going to show you some data, some players who could fill in, some that I don't think should, well, maybe just the one. But firstly, I'm going to start with Douglas Luiz himself and how he has benefited Aston Villa over the years, and certainly last season. This past season, looking across the top 5 European leagues, this is data from my perspective and my personal experience, 12 traits that I feel that a good defensive midfielder should have. So as we look at Luiz's, his tackles and interceptions aren't of the highest. Certainly he's better. His passing range is certainly up there where we need it to be. Teams score against us quite regular when he plays, hitting at 75 percentile, but also we score quite regular when he's playing for us as well. He's progressive carries and passing, certainly acceptable of somebody in his role. Not the greatest of tacklers and doesn't put many in the midfield third, which we certainly need players to do. So again, not a player I'd like to sell, but I feel that there are players out there. I feel Douglas Luiz is more of an attack-minded player by trait. He has fitted in that role for us, but I think a more defensive-minded player would benefit to play alongside Kamara going into the next season. A bit more on Douglas Luiz. We'll look at data from SofaScore, look at his heat map and where he has mainly played. You can see those 2 center areas in the defensive and attacking on the left hand side, which you would expect him to play. You can also see from the red areas in the corners, he also takes a good percentage of corners, and certainly we know he takes set plays for us as well. So as we look for players, we're certainly looking for players who will have a similar heat map to himself. This data comes from Transfer Market. It's a great place to look for data when it comes to players' worth and contract length and potential interested clubs in him. Again, worth around the 70 million mark at present value. Some mentioned the 100 million with the sale of Declan Rice, and he's worth to us. But I think in the present market, with 2 years left of his contract, I feel that would be a good sale for us. Arsenal, Man City have been mentioned. Obviously, Juventus and the possible trade with Weston McKennie, with us getting some money in exchange, is one that's been pushed a lot at present. For me, it would be a no-go. I don't think he's in his caliber, and I don't think he's going to benefit us, and I'll show some data shortly for him. But for us, the only real benefit is going to relieve the pressure of FFP. Again, as with most Aston Villa fans, we don't want to sell him. I have been critical of him. I feel at times he does go missing in the big games, but he has contributed with assists and goals, many from the penalty spot, but he's certainly one of our big assets as we move forward into the next season. This is why Weston McKennie has been mentioned previously with us, I think maybe at the start of last season. But again, we'll look at him, same stats as we looked at Douglas Luiz. Not really excelling anywhere in particular, maybe progressive carries, but for me is not a strong enough passer of the ball to be involved in an Emery team in the way that he likes to play. Yeah, that's certainly a no-go for me, so I'm certainly not going to waste any more of your time there. I do want to look at a player that this player who I think would be a great asset for us. He ranked higher at a lot of my own personal stats. I created a player rankings for certain roles, looked at comparisons. Personally, I feel that we need a player closer to Boubacar Kamara to build from and support him as we become more competitive in the Champions League and even push to try and go higher in the Premier League. The player that I came across was a player who plays in the Bundesliga, plays for Stuttgart. His name is Angelo Stiller. I'm going to show you some information on him now, and I appreciate your feedback and your thoughts upon him. So looking at his stats individually, again, tackling and interceptions not at the highest, similar to Luiz in that aspect. His passing range actually is a lot better. He's in the very high percentile in completion and short and medium passes. His long passes could certainly do with some improvement, but it's very impressive overall, and that's where his drops come from, his overall percentile ranking. Scored against, he's in the lower end 20% mark, so really helps the team become more defensive. Very rarely is he dribbled past, and if you look at his team when he's playing, they're in the high 80s, low 90s percentile ranking and scoring. Again, progressive passing, very strong, carries average, not too bad, and certainly does plenty of tackles in the midfield area. We look at his heat map on SofaScore, and we see very similar to Luiz. He's in that centre to left of the defensive and opposing halves, and if you haven't noticed, but look at the corner flags, you'll also see he's their corner taker, a lot of times free kick, set piece taker as well, so a ready-made replacement for Luiz in those areas too. Now let's look at his value. Again, this data comes from Transfer Market. Presently 20 million. You've got to remember Stuttgart purchased him at the start of the previous season from Hoffenheim for a 5 million. So for them it would be a nice turnaround in a season, 300% profit on him if we were to buy him for that 20, and that also 20 is less than what they value McKennie at, who's rated around the 30 million mark. Contract expires at the end of the middle of 2027. There's no interested clubs at the moment. 23 years of age, still young, still can grow, similar age to Kamara. He's been a German international from under 17s all the way up to the under 21, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes the national team before too long. I think a strong replacement to replace Luiz with a 50 million net spend there certainly would help us when it comes towards FFP. He's naturally left-footed, which would give us that balance in the midfield, which sometimes we can be lost when Luiz is playing there. And as also I've mentioned earlier, he's also a a set piece specialist. So I'm just going to give you an overview of analysis of him. Presently playing in the Bundesliga with Stuttgart. Excellent passer. He likes a first-time pass. He's got a good range of passing. I do have a video compilation, not that I made, but somebody else made at the end of this video, and well worth a watch. He's solid defensively and contributes in tackles and interceptions. He has got a strong engine. Whenever I watched him, he does get box to box. He's willing to chase back and work hard for the team. Versatile and can play in multiple midfield roles. Here's an improvement. Goal scoring. It's not that he's bad, but yes, he's certainly not at Luiz level, but he's certainly better than Camara. Not that you need it from defensive midfielders that often, but he certainly could improve his dribbling skills. 6 foot. He wins about 50% of his challenges. Yeah, he certainly could improve. Similar heights to Camara. Luiz, they say he's 5'8", so that could certainly help us when we're defending set plays. We lost a lot of goals from set plays this last season, so additional height in those areas would help. We know Camara, when he was playing, he would lose the odd player, so hopefully that can stabilise us a little bit there. You know, his playing style is well-rounded centre mid, winning the ball back and keeping possession ticking. He has, as I say, you'll see some of the passing if you watch that video. He loves a first-time pass and likes to switch the ball. Plays a lot of the forward players in, similar to what Luiz does, and I think Watkins would certainly benefit from that. He's a promising young talent and already racked up a good Bundesliga experience. So yeah, I certainly feel that he could be a good replacement. So just to show you in his comparison to Luiz, so we're going to look at that next. Luiz is in the blue, Stiller in the red. As you can see, tackles and interceptions, he's certainly there. Range of passing, again, beats Luiz in those. Scored against, so he's better defensively. Dribble pass less, team score more. Better in progressive passing and more tackles in the midfield, further the field. So again, yes, different league, but you know, we only can sometimes compare with those who we're replacing. But I certainly feel he's up there and could be a good, strong replacement for Luiz. Next, I'd like to look at a couple of players, one who we've been mentioned with recently, one that I feel could be a benefit. His contract's out in a couple of days. So those players are obviously Ross Barkley. He's been mentioned with a 5 million transfer from Luton. I think a solid performer. Didn't do great when he was first with us, but I feel he could be a benefit as a starter. Maybe in certain games, but I don't feel he has the attributes that a player like Stiller has. And then Wilfred Ndidi, great experience there, Premier League experience. Not the best of seasons with Leicester last season, but we know that he is a solid player who certainly would push and make it competitive there in the defensive mid areas. For a combined fee of 5 million, picking those two up, I feel would also give us backup while Kamara continues to heal, and then continue to push players as we have a lot of games coming up in the coming season. So again, on top of Tiller, I wouldn't be at fault to purchase these two players as well. So for a combined fee of 25 million, we get Stiller, Barkley and Ndidi. Obviously wages come along with that, but I feel we'd still come out as a net profit with the sale of Luiz and what we're saving with his salaries also. Just one last thing, I'm going to compare him and look at him as he's similar with Kamara. And as I say, for me personally, I think having two like for like there in the middle and allowing more attacking players in attacking mids and wides and the centre forward position to do the majority of the attacking, I feel that we could do well with having 2 players there. So comparison of taking this data from SofaScore, again, if you look at their heat maps, they're pretty much the opposite, which is pretty much what you want, again similar to what Luiz had with Kamara also. Both 6 feet, 124, 123. They could be there together for many, many years to come. Average minutes, the games they start, 87, 83 with Kamara. Obviously with Kamara's injury, didn't play as many as Stiller has. Stiller chipped in with 1 goal, but expected XG of 1.72. So even though he may not score, he's getting into positions, and that can certainly improve. Look at assists, not bad in assists, 5 assists, 0.2 per game. Expected assists, at 5. Big chances created, 6. Again, beating Kamara in all these areas. The defending side a little bit below in those areas against Kamara, but again, still learning, still young. I think would be a good file for those 2 to work together. When we look at other parts of the game, again, dribbling is something that I'm not too worried about when it comes to defensive mids, but is part of the game. Ground rules, 1, we know Kamara is very good at this, but still has no slouch, and he's winning 3.3 per game. Area duels, 1, again, still is a slight advantage there. Loses possession a little bit more, doesn't foul as much, but doesn't get fouled as much either. Yes, sorry, he's got less yellow cards, and certainly hasn't been sent off. So yeah, looking at potential replacements, I think it would be a great fit. And for those who want to see him in action, I'm going to share a video shortly. Again, this is from the Brazil Scout. Follow him on YouTube. He does some great compilation videos. But if you want to keep track of me, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to create sometime a YouTube channel to put this out there. So anyway, I'd appreciate any feedback, any comments, any recommendations of the players you may want to see that we may want to replace. And again, that's not just for Aston Villa. People from other clubs, if you get to watch this, would like me to do something at your club, please feel free to drop something in the comments. So anyway, I appreciate your time. You've got about 7 more minutes as a video you can watch, stick around, and enjoy.